Ooh, that was perfectly done. Hey guys, Chris here, and welcome to a very exciting episode, as you guys I'm sure can tell, because you guys were sick and you blasted the comment section of previous episodes and you were like, League of Legends, League of Legends. So I'm happy to say, here we are, and we're going to take a look at two cinematics. One of them is called Awaken and the other one was Warriors. So I'm very excited to see what you guys have been raving all about, and you did tell me it's a bit different, kind of like more like a music oriented cinematic, but I'm really excited to take a look at. As always guys, let me know if you have any more game suggestions about cinematics and I'll put it in our awesome list for more awesome episodes coming after this one. So make sure you subscribe guys. Now, for all my gamer bros watching, I have something very special for you guys. Raid Shadow Legends has brought you today's episode, and it's the awesome free-to-play and epic MMORPG for Android and desktop. You can join the tournaments and fight sick dungeon dragons, ungodly spiders and so much more. By gaining experience, then you can unlock milestone rewards and gain access to even more epic prizes. I'm sure you guys have a favorite character, and thankfully Raid has a sick number of champions to choose from. I'm a double-bladed guy myself, so I'll always go for like the Dark Elves and specifically Vizier. Now, I'm a huge RPG fan, going all the way back from PlayStation 1 days and Final Fantasy, and if you like RPG as well, the Raid is a great place to be. Now, for the best part. If you follow my special link in the description, you're going to receive some epic rewards as a new player to start with 200,000 silver, as well as a rare champion from the orc factions. After you join, you can claim the rewards by going to the upper right corner and opening your inbox. As I said guys, if you follow the link down below, it's going to give you an awesome boost, and you're going to join me and thousands of other Raid players and start kicking some serious. I'm actually gonna let you guys finish that sentence down below. Now, with Raid downloading in the background, we're ready to fire up YouTube and check what those League of Legends cinematics that you guys have been raving about are all for. So I'm gonna start with Awaken is number 1, full screen, and 1, 2, 3, go. Oh come on YouTube, I had it like loaded. Okay. Oh, so it is like a music game showcase? It kind of looks like me. Ooh. Cute. Here we go. Oh, that's so cool. Okay. The song is good, mate. Oh. Ooh. Trap! It's a trap! Oh, that's so sick. Oh! Ooh, that was epic. He does not look like me. Oh! Yes! Bob! my god, that is sick. What? There's so many things happening. Aww. Come on, come on. Oh, that is so gorgeous, mate. Oh. That was sick. Okay, so now I get it. It's like an awesome song and then gameplay inspired kind of like cinematics playing in the background. That was sick, man. There were so many amazing shots. Let's watch, what was the second one? Warriors. And then we're gonna dive in and have the cool cinematic breakdown of why those things look so cool. So 1, 2, 3, go. So that is a 2020 cinematic. Oh, come on, again? Okay, here we go. Ooh. Nice. I've heard this song before. Oh, that is sick. Ooh. The chains, mate. Oh! Oh, I want to do that with After Effects so bad. Hello. Ooh, here we go, Berserker in the rocks. Ooh, that was perfectly done. Ooh, interesting. Oh, that is sick. Come on, Hitch. What is that? Oh. Cool. Man, I love it. Ooh. Come on, you're gonna do something, I can tell. Oh, that's disgusting. Oh, she has hands. Okay, that's cool. Soul Blade. Hey, I got your back. Oh, that is sick. Oh, come on. What? Oh, that is sick. Oh my god. That was sick. Oh my god. I mean, I can't tell. Both were freaking A+. It's not like... I mean, oh my god, I'm rumbling again. Okay. Compose yourself, Chris. You got this. We can do this. Okay, first of all, bros, amazing. That was sick. One of my best friends, I told him that you guys have been blasting the comment sections with like League of Legends, and he was like, Chris, I'm a massive League of Legends fan. Why have you not talked to me about this? And I was like, Jim, I'm doing it now. So, well, good. So he was like, okay, so there are like two different styles of cinematics. One is like character cinematic reveals when like a new character is up in the game, or kind of like a mashup of things, because this one's like promote a lot of like kind of like, especially the second one's like the tag team play thing, like one supporting the other throughout the game. So both were sick. Which one of you guys did you prefer? Because there were like in both of them there were like 3 parallel stories of fighters going around, so it was really tricky. But oh man, that was sick. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to the first one now. This breakdown is gonna be a bit different because we're not actually looking at like the norm when it comes to cinematics. Like we have no sound now going on other than the music that's playing. So it's very different when you make a music video style of film or cinematic versus having the actual sound design in mind when you're making something. So it's interesting because we have not yet break down any of those kind of things. So let's just go right into it. 1, 2, 3, go. Awaken. Okay. So both of them just drop you in. There's no fade, there's no nothing. I'm actually curious as to why they chose to do that. Because when you just drop something in out of the blue, it's kind of like, oh, okay, it started. Like, what's happening? And you're trying to look around because there was no smooth transition between the visuals. But interesting. So I love the kind of rotating camera movement when it comes to this. Usually when you select this kind of movement, I've kind of done the same to the concept of Harry Potter, and the camera just starts like off axis and then it just like rotates. That gives the audience the perspective that they're not actually in the space, or like they're viewing the space but something is off, because you're like, why am I shifting? It's almost as if you're like a presence and you're just following through the space as it's introduced to you, versus having something more like natural, whether it's like a POV kind of shot, like starting from the ground or from the sky and like revealing you the shot, and you're like, oh, okay, where are we? Very interesting. A very cinematic image, because we have like a very torn like theater style thing, but the thing that was static throughout all the different like styles of players that they showed and the different like environments is like that the artistic value is like sick. So here we play a lot with blues and purples in this specific section of the cinematic. Color schemes, it's always extremely important, guys, when it comes to creating something cinematic. If you ever wondered why a movie looks like a movie versus me shooting something with an iPhone, it's about, it's for so many reasons, but one of the primary reasons is what your composition looks like in terms of color. We've talked about it extensively in other episodes, but here we can see that the primary color is blue and the accent color to that is purple. It's usually very easy to kind of distinguish like the action kind of colors in the scenes. For example, we have warm tones, we have red, and we also have cold blue tones highlighting the side. It's just something to keep in mind. Again, the camera is still off axis, and that is interesting because since they're using a song, and both songs heavily are fitted based on what happens in terms of action. So when the lyric goes somewhere, it's to like emphasize an action within the cinematic, or when there is like huge drop, that's when you cut to like a very cool punch or like a sword slash and things like that. So here the camera is still off axis as it's playing through. Now we cut to the second cinematic. Let me see how they cut between the two different like scenes. So they fade out to black and then it fades in, and the movement, interesting. So here, for example, this is a more classic way to reveal an environment and tell the audience where we are. So now we have kind of like an overhead, like drone, bird's eye shot. It's not exactly bird's eye view. Bird's eye view is used to describe you when you're perfectly vertical to the ground and looking down as if you're a bird. Here we have a very cool parallel move as if we're looking at the audience and the tournament, whatever is going on out of the game. And then we're gonna cut here. So we're introduced to the guy that is just bored because no one can challenge him or something. Here the color scheme is very different. As you can see, we have again extreme kind of like warm tones. His kind of like clothing has some cool teal, which is very and as well as his diamond thing. Teal and warm tones are contradicting colors and they link very well together. The classiest thing for a few years back was the orange and teal color grade, for example. So now we cut to the third one, and again it cuts when the song ramped up and it had a beat. That's when they cut to the third kind of parallel cinematic. And here we have some amazing visuals again. And we have more red and blue tones playing around, because you see her eyes are gorgeous blue, but her suit, her costume is red, crimson red. It's really interesting. That effect is so cool, man. So now we follow the character as it goes through, and then we pan up to reveal to us that there's a battlefield going on. Oh, come on. He can wait. It's actually Jim, the guy that told me to do this, but that's funny. I'll let him know later. So here, the camera pans up to reveal the battlefield to us, and that's cool. Again, did you see when the music zone ramps up, that's when they cut. So now, we're back to the blue guy. So it's really cool to notice that throughout the little stories that they tell us, it's exactly the same pace. So we start up with the environment and some characters and what's about to happen. Now we're on the second stage. Now everyone gets prepared to fight. Then there is a fight. Then they dial it down and the main character is down, or it doesn't look like they're gonna win, and then the final kind of power move happens and it's let's do this. So, C comes up, he's like, man, that is so sick. I love her design with the knives floating. Look how, oh, that's sick. I mean, even though this is kind of like a music video, they do have some sound design actually. I did not notice this at first, or it was not as evident. Now that I'm watching it a second time, there is some very slow design when there's a hit. Yeah. Look how, oh my god, that looks so sick, man. So, when it comes to fights, you always cut when there is a floating movement within the frame. So for example, I get punched, you're gonna cut either just before the punch or when the punch happens, and then the next frame is gonna be a bit before, just a few frames, 1 or 2 frames, and then you're gonna cut again. The reason why the people in the industry learned that it works is because when you have something linking 2 different shots with the same movement within the shot, it's way more pleasing to the audience because there is a reason to cut. There's a connecting motion between the cuts. So here, this is gonna hit the guy, and then it cuts to the hit. See? And then if we play it through, do you see how there is a connecting move of her grasping the spear, and then the next shot, that move happens. And she deflects, and she grabs, and it cuts, and it just looks sick. Now, when it comes to action, it's a very tricky balance of kind of finding the equilibrium between having a floating camera move, but still not being boring, have some motion to it. So here, for example, even though this is CGI and they have full control between the camera, the techniques are kind of the same. So there is camera movement, at least at the fight scene, but it's still flowy, but it has some dynamism to it. I have struggled with this, for example, putting the camera on a gimbal and just having a fight scene. For example, in the God of War, Rise of the Sun short film, we chose to kind of try to make it look like a game. So it was on a gimbal constantly, as if you would pan the camera as you do in the game. But that kind of takes some of the momentum of the action between the impacts of each shot, because it's too rigged then, it's too static when there's epicness happening in the frame. bro. Oh, he threw the big sword at her. I didn't notice this. Now we're going to the quiet, kind of like having to find the strength to get up moment. Sick. Blue and purple. That's very interesting. You don't see it often. Oh, that is sick. Ooh, her eyes turned to yellow. That's interesting. You know what she reminded me of? Do you know the little strings that come off her and kind of like dies up? I mean, have you guys seen Attack on Titan? Like, I wonder if that was the inspiration because it looks really interesting, and I've never seen that style of like weapon before Attack on Titan. Like how you have the strings and you propel yourself and then you do amazing sick stuff. So he threw the sword. Oh, I love this. Like, really? So another interesting thing to note, in filmmaking, there's this thing called focus pull. Focus pull is literally pulling focus because, you know, the cameras that are used to produce high-end things have amazing sensors, and then the optics, the glass, the lenses have something called aperture. When you can, the faster the aperture of a lens, how far the iris of a lens can open up, that's like how much light it can bring in. The more light, the bigger the aperture, the more depth of field you create. And depth of field describes the separation between an object that's in focus and the rest that become out of focus. Focus pulling is when you purposefully have a separation of depth and then you pull focus to change the perspective of the viewer to what you want them to focus on. We saw this last week with the Overwatch Dragons trailer, where they went from the blade to the arrow that was the last arrow that he could use. Here, it's kind of like more simpler, more subtle, but you know, we're focusing at the sword that the guy threw together with a character, and as she turns around, we focus pull to her face to see her expression, and then the rest becomes blurred out. So, something to keep in mind. I love your design, man. So cool. Oh, that was sick. Another kind of like, we're gonna talk about the effect of superhero landing because I really want to pull it off. Oh, that is sick. So here, I have no words because I would have chosen to shoot it, if this was real, to shoot it in the exact same way somehow. So here, we're following the bad guy as if we're behind him. So we are going and throwing ourselves with him in the arena to fight the cool chick. So, oh, come on. So here, as you can see, the camera goes, and then as he drops, the camera drops perspective with him. See? And how we're flying with him as if we just jumped off the cliff with him. And then you have the super cool landing. So when it comes to landings, this is really interesting actually. Even though the CGI, it looks exactly the same as if you would do it in real life. Because in real life, you will have to trick the audience into thinking that you just jumped out of something. I wish I had an example. But basically, for very few frames, I mean, how many are these ones? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then he's landed. So for like 6 photographs, basically, you have to kind of like mask yourself out. Either you can use a green screen to be like super easy, or you can just like jump off like a chair or a ladder of something and pretend to land. So, but for those few animations, you have extreme blur happening, and then when you land, you're like there, and then using a shockwave kind of like bursting out, it would be really useful. Now, the trick is, for example, if you want to do this, if it's on dirt, then a shockwave of dirt makes sense. But if you're, for example, in the street, or you just jumped off a building, let's say, you can't really have a dust wave happen because, like, why is there so much dust on the street? Then you would have to use the street should crumble and things like that. So, depending on the assets that you have on your disposal, think about how you can implement this effect in your short film or short concept that you do. And if you have dust assets, film it somewhere that there's dust. You know what I mean? Because then you would have problems. So he lands epically and it approaches him. Wait a second. This kind of reminds me in the music video that I did back in the day. Gosh, it's been a few years. The guitar player was gonna go in an epic solo and he stumps his foot. It was not exactly like a power like landing, but he stumps his foot when the solo comes in, and then it starts and you have the dust wave, and the camera did the same thing, kind of like approaching and looking up the character. He's excited. This one. Everything looks like a painting, man. Sick. The bubble. Ah, boom, and now we just go. That, man, I mean, come on, that is like straight out of Attack on Titan. Sick. So interestingly, when you reveal a character, it's cool to kind of like get the audience wondering what's happening versus just giving it to them, if that makes any sense. So here we have the new latest character that's coming to help, and we have the cool aura, so we can see his feet, we can see someone running, we can see someone like grasping their sword and getting ready, and then we see like a sick power move, but we haven't seen them yet. So that creates tension and kind of like wonder of like, who came? Who is it? Is it him? And then, after the move happens, now we reveal his face. Like, I'm here, guys. Sick. Oh my god, so cool. Oh my god, just look at this. Like, this is like gorgeous, man. This frame, I mean, most frames are gorgeous, but this is just crazy. Again, I'm really shocked you don't see this often again, like blues and purples being the dominant colors in terms of the color scheme in this one. And this is gorgeous, man. I love the use of slow motion again. Like, slow motion sometimes is overdone, but here, it just freezes the things in just like a really gorgeous frame, and it just lets us kind of glance at them for a bit more. And it's all of course, it's also in terms of the story that's happening. It's like just in a pivotal moment, you freeze time just to extend the awesomeness of the scene for that little long. Again, in another Overwatch episode that we did, that was I think called Alive, they did the same thing, how they froze time just to extend it for us to get a breath and kind of like take it all in. Because if it happens super snappy fast, you can't really appreciate everything that's in frame. Oh, that is... Oh no, what did I do? There, okay. Oh, look at this scene, man, again. How epic is this? Sick. Epic. Let's jump on to number 2. So this one is like the latest one. That's like a 2020. Man, you know what's funny? Now that we've done so many episodes, I like do wonder sometimes like, how have I not seen most of these things? And like sometimes I'm like, you know, I'm not in college anymore, I can't really play much games and stuff, but I'm really happy that we came up with this series, guys, and you guys love it, and there's this awesome interaction, and we can watch these things because it helps me as well. Like, they give me so many ideas and so many like cool things, and when you like watch something and you break it down, like it either like gives you some new ideas, or like it establishes things that you know, or like reminds you of things. So it's just like so epic. So here, again, I think it just dropped in, and we have a bit of slow motion. It's actually interesting. In music videos, slow motion is used extensively. There is something about a music playing and then footage not being real time. It just helps that kind of transition of things that you don't have real time sound design, like as if we were watching it and it was actually a thing, versus being a music video. And that is really interesting. gorgeous, man. Again, now we have like the cold kind of like steampunk. We play a lot of whites, hair, and a lot of blues. We saw this actually in World of Warcraft. The Wrath of the Lich King. They kind of used like a similar tone of color schemes, but this one is a tiny bit desaturated. Desaturation is used in different ways, usually in horror or like more like grungy scenarios, like post-apocalyptic, let's say. Desaturating the colors and the color scheme a tiny bit actually helps to evoke a different emotion that this, for example, being super vibrant and happy. Now, the second one is actually more of like a steampunk design. So here they play a lot of warm tones and a lot of greens. Interesting. This one's actually real time, mostly. And then the third one. How sick is this, man? In order to do these things with like visual effects, you can do them using something like After Effects and not have like a huge 3D team that does particle simulation, physics simulations, and all these things. But you need to really be cognitive of like what assets that are pre-rendered you have to work with. And you have to go a bit opposite, like go against the trend. Basically, you would see what you have to work with and then take the primary story, that primary idea that you have, and form it around what you have to work with, whether it is the team, whether it is the assets, whether it is the locations, and things like that. That's how you can cheat the system and create something that far exceeds the sum of its parts and still provide an awesome experience to the viewers. And then the guys are going to say, but how was it made? It's by that, taking what you have, forming it around your idea and concept, and then going out there and kicking ass, basically. So we have the new guy. He kind of like reminds me from Final Fantasy IX, Zidane. He kind of like has this cheeky like, I'm the best. Nothing gets to me. Again, a lot of purples here as well. Slow motion again. We have the main guy. Oh, that's cool. How like the guys come out of the I mean, technically smoke, but it's like dry ice that has that. Guys, we need to do this. Okay, so studying visual effects is actually not very hard, because all you do is you go frame by frame and try to analyze how it was pulled off, how the effect took place, how it ended, how everything happened. So basically here we have the guy running, then we have a reverse kind of like shockwave particle coming into him. So the particle kind of like charges up and goes inwards, and as it goes inwards, they remove the guy, then the shockwave kind of collapses in itself. Then we have the plane kind of like footage where no one is in, and then with the shockwave happening now normally, and with a lot of glow and light effects, the guy comes in. Now again, technically, the jump was like so quick and so small, like he didn't actually travel that much distance, but the effect is so cool. And how I would try to do this, because some keen of you guys that know about visual effects and follow the tutorials on the channel know that you cannot have a dynamic camera movement to pull this off. Now, how you actually can do this is if you put it on a tripod and shoot in 4K, then you will have 3 planes. One, you would just let the camera kind of like capture the environment by itself. Then in the first one, you will have the guy being in front of the camera and like jumping in the air trying to disappear. And then the third and final one would be the guy, your actor basically, or yourself kind of like acting. It's like reappearing kind of motion and dropping in the ground. Now what you would do in post is you would connect all of those 3 layers, you would connect them, and then you will play by bringing them in and out, and by using like assets like particles and like kind of like shock waves, you will mask that transition between me kind of like jumping, disappearing, moving out of frame, going a bit forward, jumping in, disappearing, moving in frame. Now the cool thing is that after you've done all this, after you've made this entire composition, what you would do is you would create a fake camera movement to take off that tripod. So you would zoom in, kind of put like a wiggle expression to the movement, and then you will play with like zooming in and zooming out and zooming in and zooming out. Because this one, it's kind of like a very generic shoulder kind of like shot and point of view. You don't have things like being too close to the ground or having a tree in front of you to not be able to zoom in and make the fake camera movement. So that is how I would approach this, and I'm really excited because there is definitely something coming up, especially when we can go out there and create more awesome visual effects. Sick. That was so cool. I love your design. Steampunk is cool. That is so cool. How is this character style called in the game, guys? Remind me. Oh. You have the build up, things start happening. Go, I got this. Very cool. I've talked to you guys about this before when it comes to visual effects. When you have sci-fi weapons, heads-up display is like essential, but I like how minimal they keep it. It's not like too like on the nose. Easy. I like this one. I like how you can see the projectile coming in and hitting the guy. Because you can do this within After Effects really easy. Like if you have a sci-fi gun, you don't have to go like overboard. Like just have a white solid, animate it for what is like 3-4 frames, 1, 2, 3. And then the impact with like sparks and stuff. That's a sick. Easy. Glow effects, white solid, colorize it, and then you're good to go. Upon impact, put some spark effects and just like a quick flare, and that's it. Boom. Again, as the song beats drop and it's like the epic like impact, that's when they sing. It's basically what we see as visuals and what the music does are actually extremely in sync. Whether it is the lyrics that describe something, it is actually translated to the visual as well. Or there's like the epic like song drop, that's where like the action or like the power move happens. Oh. I'm trying to like stop it, but not stop it in like a moment that's not like, oh that was so cool, why did you freeze it? It's very interesting actually. Music plays a huge role in movies, but it might not be made as you actually think. So in big budget like Hollywood stuff and things like that, you would actually make the movie, the final lock of the cut in terms of like the scenes and everything is going to be done, and that's when it pushed to like music and soundtrack production. Now there is a soundtrack and there is a certain tone that they already have established, but when the composer comes in, he actually looks at the cut that is locked and he does it based on this. So let's say you have the theme of the Empire from Star Wars, he will go and he will make it so that it perfectly fits what the director wants in terms of how the movie is cut. Now the cool thing is, you can't really do this when it comes to like independent productions or smaller budget films, but what you can do is go again on reverse. Find some amazing songs that you feel, soundtracks that you feel fit your scene, your movie, your idea, your concept. And if you can have access to them, then build around them. So what I do is I will take the soundtrack first, and then I will cut based on the soundtrack that is already made and I can use in my films. That way I ensure that the same thing occurs. As the music plays, as the music plays, the soundtrack and what happens in frame are in sync as well. So some cool things to keep in mind. This is again. He's like, should I help? Should I just run for it? Have you guys been left in one of the LOL games and like someone just like fleed and you're like, come on man, and you just got like wasted because of it? That would be funny. again you have the quieter kind of like are we losing kind of moment, and before like someone like rises up to the challenge. I love these kind of shots. I love the shots that we are behind the character, as if, almost as if they're protecting us. They are what stands between what's coming and us, the viewer. And I really like this kind of like last stand kind of moment. I think that's just like so epic. Build up, cut. And now it's just like kicking ass, mate. That is like top movie. Like take a bunch of millions, CGI the out of the scene, and just give me epicness. Amazing job. Amazing job. If I may say, this is the first. We've seen every single episode of Filmmaker Reacts has been sick, but this is on par with like WoW cinematics and Blizzard stuff that we've checked. Amazing. Sick. Now, my friend told me that there are a ton of League of Legends cinematics. Now, this was top. There's nothing to say. Amazing, stunning, thrilling, epic. Now, it's your job, guys, because there's so many kind of like League of Legends cinematics, from what I've been told, to tell me how to tackle them. Because there's gonna be a sequel to a League of Legends Reacts episode, of course. Let me know. I know that there are like some other cinematics that is kind of like more like this ones, that there's like tag team play and it's just like awesome fights, as well as kind of like more character-centric kind of like cinematics. So let me know in the comment section below what's the correct order of tackling League of Legends cinematics. And with that said, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'll see you in the next ones, and as always, stay awesome and creative.